everyone. Welcome to Lives Worth Telling. I'm your host, Jodes, and my podcast is about digging deep into people's stories and providing them with a platform to share their life and their experiences with my listeners. One of the key reasons in creating this podcast is so their families and friends can have a record of their life, their stories, and their voice forever. One of my favourite things is hearing about people's stories, their triumphs, their hardships, but most of all, I love hearing about their resilience. I really hope you enjoy listening to my guests share their lives with you. I want you to have a few laughs and allow yourself to be immersed in their stories. Welcome to Season 1, the wrap-up of Lives Worth Telling. I truly can't believe that there has been 10 episodes and I'm wrapping a season already and already preparing for Season 2. Just some stats for Season 1. As you all know, there are 10 episodes. I currently have listeners in 67 cities and 57 countries around the world. Recently picked up some new listeners in Mexico, in 2 different parts of Mexico. The first episode was uploaded on the 30th of June, and today I am recording on the 8th of September, and I seriously, I can't believe how well everything has gone. I want to thank all my guests for my episodes. Thank you to Myrna, to Kimmy, to Tim, to Linda, Jeff and Sophie, Anita, Carolyn, Danny, Mandy and Kerry. Now, let's reflect on Season 1. But if you haven't listened to all the episodes yet, you may want to stop here as there are some spoiler alerts. So one of my things was chatting to people about their first concerts. So we actually had 2 guests that Michael Jackson was their first concert, and that was Myrna and Anita. Kim's first concert was Alanis Morissette. Tim's first concert was Bryan Adams. Carolyn's first concert was John Farnham. Mandy's first concert was Bros. Danny's first concert was Savage Garden. And Kerry's first concert was Sherbet. I was also really interested in the different songs that people chose for if you could choose one song to walk in when you walk into a room, what would you play? Myrna chose Every Breath You Take by The Police. Kimmy chose Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Linda chose You're My Sunshine. Danny chose Raw. Mandy chose Take On Me by Iha. Tim, of course, chose It's My Life by Bon Jovi. Kerry chose You're My Best Friend by Queen. And Carolyn chose Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. I think I've got everyone there. Yes. The next question was the dinner guests, and the question I had was 5 people that you would invite for dinner. Some people struggled to get to the 5, but that's okay. So there's quite a list at the Lives Worth Telling dinner table. Anita chose Robbie Williams, Hugh Jackman, Maggie Smith, and Kerry chose Matthew Richardson, who used to be a football player in Melbourne for the Richmond Football Club, Robin Williams, Bruce McAvaney, and Nicole Livingston. Who else? Myrna chose Putin and, I guess, leaders of China and Russia. Linda chose Charles Darwin and also people that were scientific pioneers. Also her great-grandfather, who was a Melbourne coroner for 57 years, and he was Dr. Crawford Derek Merrilson. And Mandy chose the Prince and Princess of Wales, Melissa McCarthy, Heath Ledger, Putin and Kim Jong-un. Carolyn chose Michelle Obama, Jacinda Ardern, Ella Hose, who is a Paralympian, Julia Roberts and Nicole Kidman. Danny chose Aaron Tveit, Robin Williams and Elijah Wood. Kim chose her birth mum, Jen, and her mum, Jan, and also Pink. Tim, of course, chose John Bon Jovi. Stephen Kernahan, Shane Warne, Hillary Clinton, and also Sam Newman. One of my favourite questions in Curious Corner is if you were able to choose someone other than your partner as a hall pass for the night, who would it be? Some people chose one person and some people chose more than one. So Myrna chose Jensen Ackles and she answered it so quickly. It was a no-brainer for her. Kimmy chose her husband, Brett, but then she went on to say Shamar Moore from Young and the Restless, and then Gordon Ramsay. Tim chose Selma Hayek, and Anita chose Jude Law. Of course, Danny chose Aaron Tveit, but it was more about listening to his voice, wasn't it, Dan? Yeah, it was definitely the voice. Carolyn chose Jason Momoa, and in particular, she mentioned she loved the tats and long hair. Mandy chose Roger Federer, and then when she went on to list Channing Tatum, Wentworth Miller, and Robert Pattinson, so quite a range of people there. Kerry 100% chose Matt Damon and then added in Ryan Reynolds. So you can kind of see how people tick with the different lists and the people that they chose. I'm going to move into some questions I've had about the podcast and how I record, and I guess just quite a few different questions. I'm going to answer those questions for you. So I've had questions about, do I stop recording when I record an episode? No, I don't. I think I've only ever stopped one episode due to a guest having a coughing fit. But apart from that, I record from the beginning right to the end, no stopping. And this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I have no prior knowledge of knowing how to do a podcast or anything like that. This has just been a few months of lots of researching and learning all the hows. How long does it take to edit an episode? Well, say if the episode goes for 1 hour, I am listening to that episode for that full hour and editing, I guess, any long gaps out of the episode, but also probably another listen as well. And then when it's completely edited and uploaded, then I actually listen to the episode as a listener, not the interviewer, which is much more fun. Someone asked me, do I make money from the podcast? No, I don't. And it costs me money because every guest gets a Lives Worth Telling mug and also the costs of the uploading every month. But this is purely just a hobby and something that I would like to do for the family and friends of all my guests so that they have a record of their life, as my intro states. I have had a question around males versus females, that I do have a lot of females on the podcast. Funnily enough, that was mentioned by a male, and that male has not decided to come on as yet, but I have a few people waiting in the wings, just taking their time. So shout out to Tim and to Jeff, who have been our only males in season 1. So I hope to get a few more in for season 2. What is my day job? I've been asked this by listeners of the guests. Am I in communications? Yes and no. I am a kindergarten teacher in Melbourne, and I have been teaching for over 30 years, so that is my day job, and this is a little hobby of mine. When is my story going to be told, and who is going to interview me? This one I haven't quite decided on this yet. Yes, I have a fair story to tell, but look, it's maybe season 2. This one I get asked a lot. How did the idea come about for Lives Worth Telling? So I'll flick to my next question before I answer that one. A shout out to Lady Amanda in the United States. She said she would be interested to know what the year of birth is for the guests. So some people, we did talk about age and how old they were. But yes, just knowing their birth year. So Amanda, I will take that and add that in for season 2. But going back to, how did the idea for Lives Worth Telling come about? In April, I went to see Will Anderson at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And Will Anderson was talking about his dad, who was turning 80, and he found out something about his dad recently, that he had been listening to a podcast, and he didn't even know that his dad knew what a podcast was. And the podcast was being hosted by a family friend of theirs, Mark Howard, who he has a podcast on all podcast platforms at the moment. And Will decided that as an 80th birthday present that he would organise for his dad to be a guest on Mark Howard's podcast. So what Will really liked was listening to his dad talk to Mark Howard about all of their family stories, but they sounded a little bit different because he wasn't telling a family member. He was telling someone else other than Will and his siblings and family. And also the fact that Will now has that recording and that interview of his dad's life forever. And that was something when I came out of that comedy festival show, was I wanted to be able to do that for other people, as I would have liked to have had that of my own family. So then I set myself a goal, and here's Lives Worth Telling. So that's kind of how it came about. It took a big learning curve for me, and learning how to edit, record, what equipment would I need, how the whole process worked. But this is a really, really fun thing to do, and it channels, I guess, listening to people's stories and making everyone, I guess, upon hearing everyone's stories, everyone realises that they're not so different from each other. So that has been, how the idea came about. So coming up in season 2, there's going to be more laughs, more guests, and lots more stories. So I'm really looking forward to what I've got lined up coming up in the next season. So I'll see you in season 2. Bye. Don't forget to check out and follow us on your socials. And if you love what you hear, please rate and review us on your favourite podcast app. Of course, if you have any questions, you can get in touch with us through the Facebook page or Instagram. If you or a friend or a family member would like to come on the show, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. And if you want to grab yourself some merch, jump onto Redbubble to check out our products. Thanks for listening to Lives Worth Telling. See you next time.